Hey guys, welcome to Gen Next Door Podcast. I'm Jennifer Otero. I started this podcast to highlight the stories of local business owners, entrepreneurs, and creatives on how they started their businesses, advice they offer, and what they are doing to make a difference in the community. This is a safe space for like-minded people who want to be inspired and get motivated to live their dreams, all while giving back no matter how small. I'm right there with you, so let's do this. Hi, welcome to another episode of Gen Next Door Podcast. Today I'm speaking with Aimee Moslares Aguirre, owner of Kids by Foodcraft based in New York City. She brings people together by creating events in person and virtually with do-it-yourself kits. She also wants to promote diversity and culture with her food, and I love that she supports her AAPI community as well. So let's welcome Aimee. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Well, thanks so much, Jennifer, for inviting me.
Yeah, so can you give me a quick summary of what Kids by Foodcraft is?
So Kids by Foodcraft does virtual and in-person events. So what we do, 95% of our customers are corporate. So a lot of people these days, especially during the pandemic, did work from home, right? Remote work, which I do the same as well. So they're looking for ways to connect with their team. And so that's where we help them. We do virtual team building. These days, we also do in-person building. And all these activities, we include a kit. That's why we call them ourselves Kids by Foodcraft. So it's a convenient way to participate in the event.
That's awesome. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about you before we get into your business. Can you tell me about yourself, where you're from?
Yeah, of course. So I moved here. I'm born and raised in the Philippines. People would think I'm Spanish because of my last name, Moslares, not Morales. But my husband is actually Colombian Ecuadorian, where I got the Aguirre. But I am Filipino. I moved here when I was 19. That was like 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was really young when I moved here. Typical immigrant story. I moved to New York City not knowing anyone. Usually when you're an immigrant in New York City, restaurant is the way to go. So that's usually your first job. I started working in a restaurant, and then I became manager in one of the restaurant, and what I started doing was I became somebody that opens one restaurant to another. So restaurant operation has always become my career, I guess. But managing a restaurant, I realized I don't want to have a restaurant. It's one of those things like you just have this, how difficult the industry is. Right. So I always wanted to be around food. I love cooking. I love trying new recipes. And I got into like arts and craft. New York City is a cultural diversity, right? Capital of the world. So it's so easy to eat anything you want. So that's always been my passion. Cooking, drinking, crafting. I mean, who doesn't love eating?
Did you always have the plan to move to New York? Why choose that over other places?
I got like a job in Florida. So that was my stepping stone. But I always wanted to do New York because I love Gossip Girl. I love Gossip Girl. And I was like, oh my God, I look so fancy and all that stuff. And people would always say for immigrants, New York City is like the go-to place. It's so easy to start there. And what I love about New York City is that every time I'm there, because right now I'm in Texas, I never felt I'm different. You could be anywhere and everybody's so welcoming, and it's just so easy to start. And especially for somebody that's so young, I don't drive. There's subway. It's just so easy to adjust. So that's why I fell in love with New York.
So I know there are like very similar aspects to the Philippines and the Latin culture because of the Spanish rule in the past. There's like Catholic traditions, speaking Spanish. You guys are very hospitable. You love dancing, singing, eating together, which is like something that we like to do. You're big on rice.
Of course.
And so what like other foods and traditions did you grow up with?
So one of the things that is very Filipino for me is to celebrate Christmas as early as September. So when my husband would always tell me, why is it that you love Halloween so much? I was like, because growing up, I did not really celebrate Halloween, and it's for us, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. As early as September, we're already putting Christmas decoration, and we don't bring that down until like February, maybe.
Yeah.
So That's probably one of the biggest thing. Being a country that's predominantly Catholic, we celebrate Christmas really like big.
Yeah.
So that's something that I probably miss. I mean, my husband and their families, like Colombian, Ecuadorian, but still, like it's nothing. It's not the same in Philippines. So one thing that
Yeah.
I love and miss for sure.
No, I went to Walmart a couple of days ago and I saw the Christmas stuff already put up and I'm like, isn't it kind of early? But I mean, maybe you should continue that tradition.
Yeah, I always say maybe I should just put a Christmas tree as early as September, make it like a Halloween, then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. Like
Yeah.
just keep it like just change the decoration, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what is your mission for Foodcraft?
So my mission with Foodcraft, one of the things when I always say this, we always chase happiness, but really what we need to chase is joy, right?
Hmm.
So happiness is very external. It's more like I'm eating a bag of potato chips and feel happy, which is my go-to. But really what I wanted to do with Foodcraft is that I wanted to really emphasize the importance of joy, right? Finding something that is within you. And so
Hmm.
our mission is to create joy and connection through shared experience. So that is something that we always say, right? When you do our event, you feel joyous because you tried something for the first time that you never thought you would and you wanted to
Hmm.
continue doing it. It's not just a one-time thing. And connection because the world needs more connection, right? And so I feel like it's really hard these days. We're so focused, especially imagine about corporate. It's you're so focused on like getting to-do list done, basically. So we want them to be able to feel connected with their coworkers and sometimes within yourself, connect with yourself and
Hmm.
really try something new.
That's awesome. At this time with the internet, we should be more connected, but we're like less connected.
I
So
know.
that's really nice to do something with your coworkers, especially those people that are doing it online, like they're working online. Like there's not that sense of like community as if you were in
Yeah,
person.
absolutely. I think I never thought I would work remotely as well. And isolation is a really big thing. Like you just feel like, I mean, for some people, maybe it works, but if you're always out there and all of a sudden you're in just a computer answering email, it's hard. So I'm glad that you like that.
Yeah. So you try to do at first you try to do cooking studio during the pandemic, and that was a bit of a setback. Can you tell me a little bit about how you decided to pivot and not be teared down by that?
Of course. So interesting story. I opened Foodcraft
Hmm.
March 8th. So that was our first event. We did alcoholic, it's actually boozy bubble tea. So I
That
always
sounds
like to
fun.
do things. Let's say if you tell me we're going to do bubble tea, I always try to make it different. So we did a
Hmm.
boozy bubble tea event March 8th. And it went out really well. And 1 week after, at that time we don't know that the pandemic will be the pandemic, right? So
Hmm.
they was just like, and then it hit New York City, like the governor says, all business has to shut down. And that was literally 1 week after we launched.
That's
And so
crazy.
as a new business, I freaked out. It's my first business ever. I quit my stable job. I thought to myself, like, did I make a mistake? And there I was, have so many bubble tea supplies because I was getting ready for multiple days of events, and all of a sudden I can't do anything. And so what we did, well, of course, there's a good few weeks where I feel really sad about it, right? Frightened, scared.
Hmm.
What I did was we did a DIY bubble ticket. So in New York City, every block, almost especially in Manhattan, is boba places, and they're not an exception during the pandemic. And so they have to shut down too. And so I thought people are looking for bubble tea to do it at home. Why don't I use the supplies that I have and do it your own bubble ticket? So that's what I did. Not we, I packed because at that time it was only me. I packed all the kits into like small batch, put them in a box, and started selling. And at that time, Jennifer, like if I don't even remember when was the last time I dropped a package in USPS. Like I don't go to USPS. It's not something that I thought of.
Yeah.
I was eager to make it work and I'm learning as I go. And next thing you know, I opened my Etsy shop. I learned how to build my website, which I had no idea how to do. I knew that I wasn't ready, but I still do it anyway because if I waited, I know that I will never start. I will just procrastinate. And so we did do it your own bubble ticket from in person, do it your own bubble ticket. And I see people started doing like cooking classes online, right? Because
Hmm.
all of a sudden people who are not used to cooking has to cook it from home because of the pandemic. But I thought, I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to do that because I have to pay $30 to learn how to make pasta. I can just do it in YouTube. So I knew that if I wanted to go on the route of cooking classes, it will be more valuable for my customers if I have a kit. So from that idea, we did bubble tea making with a kit, and then we did sushi rolling with a kit, and then now we have almost 15 type of kits. So it was a definitely unique experience.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, I don't even know how I did it, but it's more like if you want to, I'm eager to make it work. It was like one shot. So
Yeah. If I was in that during the pandemic, I would probably just start crying. I'm like, this is not working.
I
I don't know
definitely.
how I can get motivated to like try to figure something out. So like how did you get out of that mindset?
So I think for me, it really helped that I have a supportive husband and
Mm.
family. I know that even though I would mess things up, I know that I'll be okay, right? So, but then that I'm very fortunate, but ultimately, like you have to be surrounded with people that would really push you. The second
Hmm.
thing, and I think that's what you said, self motivation. One of the things that I always say is that in business, whether you have problem or not, it's really important that you know how to motivate yourself because no one else will motivate you because
Yeah.
if you're not going to push, it's not going to go anywhere else. So I think first, you definitely have to have a support system. The second thing is I. This is when you can use your negative traits to positive. I'm very stubborn. I'm full of pride, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna tell my friends to start a business and quit. So I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna just keep on going. So yeah, those two things for sure. Good
Mhm.
support circle and using your stubbornness if you have any and
Yeah.
pride if any into something positive. And so that was my tip.
Okay. I'll take the pride. I have pride. I'm like, if I already told a bunch of people, I need to like
Yes,
figure it out.
yes, like oh my god, I don't want to tell them that I just gave up.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So what type of kits do you sell? What you have like food kits, but then you also have other like unique
Yeah.
offers.
So at Foodcraft, because we ship things, right? We have to be
Mhm.
very mindful that it has to be shelf stable. So, like we do bubble tea. People ask us, how do you do sushi rolling? We do dried shiitake mushroom, and if you want to get your own fresh vegetable, go ahead. But our top most popular ones are bubble tea, sushi rolling, and then we started doing craft classes. We find that sometimes, people just want an arts and craft activity that's so meditative. At
Mm.
the same time, something that's not intimidating, right?
Yeah.
Not
Something
everyone's like,
easy.
something easy. And then, like, you feel very happy at the end. So we did this thing called Japanese marbling called Suminigashi. So those are like our top events recently.
Are you planning on others in the future? Do you have any in mind?
Yeah, so we definitely do wanted to, especially holidays are coming.
Oh
We
yeah.
are thinking of more that's festive. So one of the things that I look forward to is this. I believe it's called furoshiki, and what it is it's a gift wrapping using a cloth. So it's a Japanese technique where you
Ooh.
wrap things by using cloth. And what I love about that is because it's sustainable. I feel so guilty every time I receive a package or a gift that it's packed really nicely and I have to throw the paper in. And so I always tell my friends, just give me a paper bag so I can use it.
Yeah.
But this time we're doing like a gift wrapping. That's where it's made of cloth, so it's sustainable and you can reuse it. And it's such a nice thing. Japanese, for some reason, they have a way of doing things so pretty but and unique, I guess. So
Yeah.
one thing I look forward to is that.
That's awesome. Are you in person? Like, how
So
did you make that work?
yeah, so we do in person. And we don't. we don't promote it, or it's like not a big part of our business,
Mm-hmm.
but we're slowly opening the doors in person. So the idea is that we have kits, right? So let's say, for example, you have, it doesn't have to be always corporate. Maybe you have a
Hmm.
party, right? Like, I don't know, 21st birthday, for
Yeah.
example. And you say, like, I wanted to do, let's say, a ceramic painting. So what we do is that we send you the box directly, right? If in New York City, we send it to your house, your office, and then the host will just walk in and be like, "You have all the materials. Let me teach it for you and how to do it." So that was our
Oh,
approach
okay.
when it comes to like in person, where you still have to order a kit. And so far, it's been doing well. But it kind of also gives us a flexibility to do things that are non-perishable. For example, like we did spring roll, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
can just walk in with it. Unlike if you ship things, it has to, you know, you cannot send fresh pork or whatnot, right? So
Yeah.
we do all those things. But so far, for some reason, I still feel that people really enjoy virtual. I think they just like the convenience of staying at home, right? But if and a lot of times, a lot of corporate companies are hiring people anywhere. So that's what we're finding. Even though we put in person out there, 80% of our events are still virtual.
I see that. So as a business with physical products, where do you get your products? Where do you source them? And then where do you keep everything? Is there like a warehouse?
Yeah, so we have a warehouse in New York City. It's by the
Mm-hmm.
Bronx. So that's why, and then I mentioned, yeah, I'm in Texas. So we're
Mm-hmm.
exploring other ways and how shipping can be really expensive. So like how can we store the kits are ready
Yeah.
made? So we're thinking if we have one operation in Texas, one in New York City. So Texas can take care of like the center, the CST and the Pacific Standard,
Mm,
people. So we do have I'm thinking of Bronx and Dallas. So I'm here in Texas to do
okay, cool.
that operation. But our hosts are in New York City, some of them in Florida and California. That's why we get to do all this. We can do in person anywhere, really, depending where the host is, because we just send the kit to you and then the host will just walk to your office.
That's awesome. What was like your initial investment when you started off? Like, how did you decide on how much to buy?
So for me, so I didn't really had a lot of money when I started. So this is the
Yeah.
interesting story. People always think that you have to have a lot of money for you to start a business, right?
Especially with like a
So
physical product.
correct. So my initial investment was really $2,000, and that was it. And
Okay.
so when I knew that I didn't have money, but I know I have a really good idea,
Mm-hmm.
my business strategy was, well, I'm only going to buy supplies maybe worth $1,000. And my background is restaurant, so I know how inventory works. I know how to
Yeah.
source all this food and drink stuff. And I said to myself, well, I only need to buy ingredients whenever I have a booked event. Does that make sense? So like, if I don't have the order yet, I don't have to buy a lot of supplies. So
Yeah.
for me, that was really just a boost. So with $2,000, you're not going to go far. So it's really important that in the beginning, especially if you know your funds are limited, you have to simplify it. My
Mm-hmm.
idea was to just do bubble tea making class for the first 6 months until I double the money that I have, because in the beginning, usually when you have some little funds, you want to do so many things. It's just not realistic, right? And so
Yeah.
um, I did that, and even up until now, I fund my own business. Like I wouldn't spend money that I know I couldn't afford. I mean, rates in the bank is high.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of like borrowing money at this point.
So it's like just keep it simple at first and then figure out if it works.
Yeah.
Um, and if once you already have the clients, but like how did you source the product? Did you already have relationships because of your like background? Or did you just
So
like ask people like, hey, I'm doing this new thing?
so for me, I do know suppliers because I have a background,
Hmm.
right? But what I would say for others is that, a lot of the suppliers are willing to give you samples. Um,
Hmm.
you don't have to necessarily like buy big ingredients, right? You might need to give like, hey, I'm opening this. A lot of like salespeople, they're pretty, they're nice, especially in New York City. They just tell them like, I can't decide which flavors of syrups, for example. Is there a way you could give me a sample for top five sellers, and from there I could decide, right? So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And then second, Amazon is such a good resource, I would say, especially for small business because their return policy is really good, right? Like it's,
Hmm.
if you're just trying it out, like you're trying equipment and you don't like it, you could return it, right? Because I think that like you just have to go really small and it's okay. I like what you asked. Like I actually like it when you ask question and like it's okay to ask help. I think as people we're afraid to ask help. We feel like when we're
Yeah.
asking help, it's like weakness, because like, oh, you open a business, you should know everything. No, like I also asked my
Hmm.
previous boss and be like, what do you think? I even asked for their advice because I was so scared to
Yeah.
start. So stuff like that.
Okay. And so how many hours a day do you work on your business? Has it changed from when you started and until to now? Like, how do you schedule
So I work a lot.
24/7?
I work a lot. It's funny because when I was working in a restaurant, my restaurant job is almost like an office job because I could work 11 to 7, 9 to 5, whatever I want.
Hmm.
And one of the things I look forward to when you open a business is that, oh my God, I can finally be my own boss and I have so much flexibility and all that stuff. And I find myself like working 16 hours a day. It's almost like you cannot turn that off. And this is, I think, this is such a great question because when people are starting a business, that's what they think. Flexibility, I can handle my own time. But
Hmm.
the business will just call you like, no, girl, you're not yet done.
Yeah.
Keep doing your to-do list, right? So to answer your question, a minimum 12 hours a day, um,
Whoa.
12 to 16 for me. It's really like very intense. Although at this point I already have a team, right? But
Mm.
still we're in the beginning of like, sometimes it's even easier if you don't have a team because you don't have to communicate your thoughts. Now
Yeah.
you have a team, like you gotta make sure everybody understands what you're asking them to do. But I try not to work that way on the weekends, but it's really hard not to overwork, especially in the
Mhm.
beginning of the business.
So how do you balance that and your personal life? Or does it all just kind of blend together?
Well, for me, I would say Sunday is my day off. So I
Hmm.
try not to do anything on Sunday. Saturday, I try to do like half day. I would probably go out because I feel like if I'm just home, then I'm just gonna see my computer, and I'm next thing you know, I'm in
Yeah.
Canva, social. I need to get out of my computer,
Yeah.
right? Because you always feel like, oh my God, I love watching Netflix, but it's a waste of time. So I try not to be at home. I think that really helps me, especially if you work from home. You have to pull yourself out of the house, or else you're just gonna keep working. So I try to do that on the weekdays, weekends, especially. My husband always tell me like, "You look pale now. I think you need some sun."
Go get some sun.
Because you're like you're too much in your computer. You need some sun right now. And then yeah, that's what he would always say to me.
It's funny. When did you hire your first employee and how did you decide that you needed to do that?
So I hired the first person that helped me was my sister. So
Hmm.
she was also working in a restaurant and you know the restaurant were closed that time. So I wanted to help her and she's helping me as well by doing all these things. The first time I knew that I needed to hire when I wasn't sleeping anymore. And I was like, oh my God, my husband was like, no, you can't do it. Even my poor husband, who doesn't know anything in like shipping, he was helping me, and I knew that I needed help. And I think for me, I felt when I was starting, it's like a window. I would really
Mhm.
wanted to take the opportunity during the pandemic to really get as much business as possible. So, how businesses were really bad during the pandemic. My business at the time was thriving because of the pandemic. So I knew
Yeah.
that it was like temporary. So I was like, if I don't make this process faster, I would lose that window. So I needed to hire people to make the process
Hmm.
faster. And it's really like different because mine was about logistics and I had no idea about logistics. Right? We started shipping internationally. All of a sudden, I'm doing customs in Colombia, customs in
That's
Ecuador. And I'm
scary.
like,
I don't know.
I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. So, yeah, like I needed people to help me out. And there's a lot of factors because when you ship kits, at the time I was packing kits and then I have to plan the class, right? There's
Hmm.
just so many things go, and I'd have to do the sales too. There's just too many things going on. So, yeah, at that time I knew I have to do it because the return of investment is pretty good. It makes sense for me.
Yeah. So what did she help you with?
So she was doing the packing. She helped me with like
Mm.
packing the kits because you have to
That's
do it
probably
quick.
time consuming, huh?
It's time
Yeah.
consuming. If you wanted the cost to be low, right, then you
Hmm.
have to pack things from scratch. Because if you buy something that's already made, then it's going to be expensive. But I want to keep my costs low, so I have to buy in bulk.
Okay.
Think of like a sacrifice instead of buying pouches already. We were
Mm.
have to do it in smaller pouches at that time, and so that's what she's doing. She's helping me pack. At that time, she doesn't also know what she's doing, and I was doing more in the classes, right? And then when I was one day, Jennifer, it's so funny. I had an event one day, 4 events, 1 hour. I was so exhausted, like to the point that
Wait,
on my
one
third
day,
class,
four
just
events.
4 events. So I
So it was
had
just
to
like
be
back to back.
maybe you have like 30 minutes break, but
Uh,
I knew I was going crazy because in my third class, wait, I was like, wait, did I already said that I like put water? Like I was trying. Did I say on the third time to put water or did I say it on the second? I was so confused already. Like I knew
My
that
goodness.
I can't do it. And so then we started hiring people to help me teach the class, right? And now we have about 10 hosts, maybe eight hosted instructor. And now fully I'm just doing sales and marketing. Um,
Wow.
and I always think like, as a business manager of a restaurant, I knew that for me to do it well, like the test of a business works really well is if I'm able to remove myself, it's still running.
Hmm.
That was always my thing. Like now I'm in Texas, the business is still running, right? Like even if I don't move my finger, they will still be hosting classes. And so that was always been my big goal.
Yeah. And you grew so fast. Did you start during the pandemic, right? Like 2021, 2020?
Yes. 2020, we definitely grew so fast. And one thing I learned, it's also not good to grow so fast.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes when you grow so fast, your team is not ready to grow so fast, right? Like
Yeah.
you can say yes to business, and then you realize the operation and the systems are not in place yet,
Hmm.
right? So what happens is that you make mistakes, right? And then the mistakes are costly, right? So
Yeah.
we definitely grew so fast.
And
I
then you have
tried
to
to
say no sometimes, right, to the clients because there's just not enough time or enough people.
right, and I'm not a no person. I'm a yes person. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Because as you always feel like you have a fear of missing out. You're like, oh my God, yes, 300 kids, yes, next week, yes. And then my team like,
Oh my
how
God.
we've definitely been through that, but I'm just fortunate that my team,
Mhm.
understands me and how I think and how that I know that they would push it, even me without checking it. So I give a lot of credit to the team,
Mhm.
they are the one who really helped me make it happen because there were times where it literally is like we have 15 kids, right? So let's say they want bubble tea for 100, next is 100. There's just so many things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I know it's going to happen this holidays again, but we're learning. We learn from our mistakes.
What's the biggest challenge you have with your business right now, and how are you trying to overcome it?
So my biggest challenge in my business right now is the transition of the virtual to in person. So,
Hmm.
as a business, right, that started during the pandemic, and now the pandemic is over, right, and people are adjusting. I think that having to um, do how we can do in person in a safe way, in a
Hmm.
logistic manner, right? Because we don't have, and I don't plan to have my own cooking studio as I wanted in the beginning. I think I'm in a very interesting stage because the economy is kind of like rocky, and you're like, you don't
Hmm.
want to invest so much in going out there and putting a shop. So how are we doing that transition? So that's why we're slowly doing it March, April. We learn not to jump quickly and just
Yeah.
testing it out little by little. But it is a challenge in a way that there is, there's just a lot of going on where, we're so used to virtual and all of a sudden this in person, right? And so that's one of the biggest challenge for me. And second is like the cost, like things are just expensive these days. And, like
Yeah.
the supplies are getting expensive. The shipping is like $1 extra expensive.
My
And,
God.
but yeah, but people don't have the money for it. So we have to always keep making sure that we're economical. Our pricing are pretty good, right? And I think at this point we learn to do that by simplifying it really, because sometimes it's so easy to complicate things, and
Yeah.
I tend to complicate things because I'm a yes.
Are you like gonna increase the price of your kits, or are you just trying to find other products that are cheaper?
So what we're doing right now, and this is why we're considering, we don't want to increase our price as
Mm,
much as possible. Our target market is corporate, and corporate these days, I know their budget is there's layoffs these days, right? So we
hmm.
try to keep our prices the same, right? And that's why we're trying to find other opportunities. How can we keep the cost of operation low? And that's one thing is to moving to Texas, right? So it doesn't really matter where a warehouse is in New York or in Texas. It, the cost to have a business outside New York City is 20-30% cheaper than
Hmm.
doing it in New York, So yeah, that's what we're doing for 2022.
Okay, that's smart. So what do you enjoy most about what you do?
So what I enjoy most about what I do is that I get to create so many cool things. So
Yeah.
I, do you consider yourself crafty? Do
I
you
like
like
to do
arts and crafts?
I like to do crafts.
So I'm a type of person. I actually don't. I don't consider myself artistic. When I say that to people, they're like, "No way! You can write, you can paint." My personality is that I told you in the beginning. I have pride. If I see something like that looks good, I think I could do it, even though maybe not. I would still try it and find my way to do it in a way that's in my level, if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
what I love to do is to create things that I thought could never do, but here I am creating it because my idea was like, I cannot expect our participants or students to create this painting if I can't do it. so,
Yeah.
so I'm always be the first person to try an activity. I learned so much. I learned how to do candles. You could do crochet, like all
Hmm.
sorts of things. I could create anything. So that's a fun part of me. And sometimes it's hard, Jennifer, because sometimes like you're just doing it for fun, and all of a sudden I'm like, I think I could do it as a business. So it's almost like, how do you put a fine
Hmm.
line about leisure and like business? Because I can't. I always think like I think I can bring it to food craft. So I like that I'm always creating.
I like doing crafts. I'm also not creative in the sense of like I can do something by myself. Like I need like some tutorials, some like YouTube
I
videos or
too.
something to help
Need something
me.
to copy.
Yeah. I'm a copycat.
Yeah, I am the same way too. And it's there's nothing wrong with that. I was reading one of an article saying, is there anything original out there? Like, really, there's nothing. You cannot call something that you created on original because like that was an inspiration of something else.
Hmm.
At this point, it's really hard to find something original these days, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
So do you remember the first product you sold and how did you feel?
So the first product I sold was definitely a bubble tea kit. I felt I felt really happy and excited. Um, but those are my friends and family. But when
Okay.
I had the first person that I didn't know,
Complete stranger.
a complete stranger, I was like, oh my God. I was really happy. I was so excited. And it's almost like, oh my God, this is really it. Because I always wonder, like, oh, friends and family, they both fine. They just want to
Yeah.
support, right? But when it's a stranger, that's when it hits you differently. I remember the first time I taught a class, it was actually a couple from Burbank, California. I cannot forget them because there's literally one on one. Because at that time you have to buy 5 kits to get a free class. So there's a couple. It's actually just a woman. She bought 5 kits from me. She just
Okay.
do one class, and we were doing the event, all that stuff. We were just like really chatting, and at the end of the class, she was like, I really like your packaging. You're doing a really great job, and you have to keep going. I think you're in the right direction. And you know, it's one thing when they buy from you. It's another thing when they validate what you do. And
Hmm.
that I really, if not because of her name is Linda. Shout out to her. I would not continue because I was really hesitant. I wasn't sure if I'm doing the right thing. It's like I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was just talking to a friend, and because of those kind words, genuine compliments,
Hmm.
that kept me going. And I got addicted to that feeling, and I just kept on going, and here I am, right?
No, it's like it's one thing to be like having your friends and family support you and but it's another thing from a stranger. Like they have
Yeah.
no need to say anything nice. And when they do, it's like you feel like you did something good and you have like a
Yeah,
lot of pride in it.
absolutely, and I think that's one of those things too. Going back to your question earlier, like when you have such a limited budget, you really have to go out there and try to get feedback from stranger as much as possible because you don't have a lot of time for error. You only have,
Yeah.
let's say in my case, 2 grand. So, you wanted to get feedback from strangers more than friends and family because they could be honest with you.
Yeah.
They more than your friends and family who could be a little bit hesitant to tell you what it is really.
So what's your dream? What do you want to accomplish? Do you have any long-term goals?
Yeah, so my long-term goal is to really open a studio. So that's always been my dream. So I have two concepts that I'm exploring, probably 2023, 2024, when things are a little bit more stable. Economy wise. But the
Hmm.
first thing is that I wanted to open my baking studio. So I am not a baker, but like I said, I'm a type of person that when you see something in Pinterest or YouTube or TikTok or whatnot, I always believe that I could do that, but I just need time to practice and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
always need to have a baking studio where you walk in and you said you wanted to make cupcakes or maybe decorate, let's say, a unicorn cake.
Hmm.
And you build it from scratch and you have all the ingredients there, all the equipments, right? Not everybody has like a KitchenAid mixer or whatnot.
Hmm.
So I want to have a baking studio where they can bake anything they want and on their own. And there's like one person there looking around, like teaching you how to do stuff. So that's one, that's my dream. And I already have a picture in my head how it would look like. I was thinking of like peach. I don't know. I got into it one night. The other thing is that I wanted to have a bar so my husband loves going to bars, and as a woman, I don't drink as much as him, and I get bored very quickly. And so
Hmm.
I always think that, I wanted to have a bar where you can do like a project as well. So maybe while he's drinking, maybe I can do my own DIY project.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, and that, like what I said, women can get bored very quickly. What do I do in the bar? There's like nothing to do in the bar. I'm just gonna look at my husband. That was it. So I said I need an activity, and then I always thought that would be really cool.
ooh, like doing like cocktails.
Yeah, you can maybe I could do maybe like a cocktail activity, or maybe I can make a bracelet that there's a kit for everything while
Mm,
he's.
yeah,
So
I
it's
like
almost
bracelets.
like a DIY bar. It's like your own kit or like a bar. So that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so can you tell me about Heart of Dinner and what that is
Yeah.
and how you support them?
Right. So Heart of Dinner is a organization in New York City that I found.
Mm.
And what I love about them is that they are supporting the elderly, the AAPI community. So what they do is that you can donate food to them, right, and lunch. And what they do is they pack the lunch for you, and then they decorate the bag, and they also have like a card, right.
Mhm.
And what they do is that they deliver lunches and grocery to the elderly AAPI in New York City. So what
So
what we
nice.
what we do to help them is that, sometimes on my day off, which I like to create, I would decorate some bags at home, even though it's like 5 or 10 a week, and then I send it to them, and then I also ask some of my team members to do the same. So they always look for. Um, I mean, you can do Chinese characters. Like we say, if I
Hmm.
have something to copy, I could write probably Chinese
Yeah.
characters. I don't need it. But they also have like Filipino. So I'm Filipino. That's pretty easy for me to just write like a Filipino letter, right? So, um, yeah, I do like it because Asians especially, and I think Latino culture too, food is our love language,
Yep.
right? So it was such a
That's like
nice.
that's how you show love to someone through food.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. That's my love language too.
okay, so what do you read or watch to stay informed or for fun?
So what I read, well, I just do Instagram reels. I
I'm on
read like,
TikTok all the time.
yeah, I know, me too. Like I, and it's crazy because they know what you want to see.
Hmm.
So that's what I do. My news, for some reason, I do YouTube for news. Um, I don't watch TV. I don't know. Do you watch TV? I like
Not really anymore, actually.
Yeah, that's what I do. YouTube and TikTok or Instagram.
So, what's something you want to leave the listeners with? Information about your projects, last inspirational words.
Yeah, so I think like my story at Foodcraft, it's such a unique story on how things can go wrong in the beginning, but as long as you don't give up and you keep
Hmm.
going, it can turn into something beautiful, right? And in my case, the first problem I had was 1 week after I launched the business.
Like the worst
Pandemic
thing that could
happened.
happen happened.
Right? What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And I think that for me, this is why when people tell me like they want to start a business, the first thing I always tell them is that are you willing to motivate yourself? Because no one else will cheer for you. You have to cheer for
Hmm.
yourself. And if you don't have that motivation, that self motivation, don't even start because
Yeah.
it's not for you. You should be ready for the lifestyle. You will be working a lot. And if you wanted to only work 68 hours, it's not for you. So I think what I really want to say to our listeners is that if you have self motivation, if you're willing to work long hours, and if you feel like you're fit in the lifestyle, go ahead, start the business. Not everyone is meant to have a business, and you have to start a business for a reason. I have so many friends who want to start business just because their other friends have business, right? And don't start business for the wrong reason. So that's one thing. And lastly, if you want to start a business, it has to be something that you like because you're going to be doing that 12 hours a day.
Hmm.
If not, then it's okay. You don't have to have a business to feel successful, right? So
Yeah.
make a difference. You can donate or volunteer to Hearts of Dinner, like what we're doing too. Um, so yeah, and then if you guys want to learn more about Foodcraft, you can visit us at www.foodcraftnyc.com, and then our Instagram is foodcraftnyc. We try to post a lot of reels, some
Hmm.
educational stuff. One thing I did not mention at Foodcraft, we use food, drinks, and craft events for cultural appreciation. I think, no, not I think, last quarter we did Japan. This coming quarter, we will be doing Hawaii. So you're going to
Oh,
see a lot of,
cool.
we're going to be doing tiki cocktails and, anything about hula, stuff like that. So watch out for that. But I want to say thank you, Jennifer, for inviting me. I
Thank you,
really
Aimee.
I love that it is our first time that we chatted and met, and it feels
Yeah.
like I'm just talking to a friend.
Okay, and then last question. What do you love about New York? What specific local business or location? But now that you're in Texas, I guess also Texas.
Yeah, so What I love about New York is the feeling that as an immigrant, I never felt different. I
Yeah,
really felt
because
like
everyone's like unique, right?
exactly, and that's what I love about New York City. If you're young, you're starting. New York City is the best place to be. Even I've moved to Texas. There's no place like New York City. And one business that I really like it. There's this called Cabecera, and it's in Lower East Side. They're a Filipino restaurant. What I love about them is that they always arrange Filipino community events. And they invite other businesses like us to have. Last time they had like Ubi Festival. I think they have Lumpia Festival. Like they try to do so many things that has to do with Filipino community. So I love that about them. And in Texas, I've been here for 2 months only. I mean, we still have New York City house, so like we go back and forth.
Mhm.
But one thing I like about Texas is they're very proud people. Everywhere I go, they're just like flag. I don't even remember what New York flag is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, there has flag everywhere. So I think they like that they're very proud. Um, and it pushes me to drive. I'm driving, girl.
Wow.
I had to drive or else I'm gonna go crazy because there's no one's
Yeah.
driving. So I like that I'm being pushed to learn something new, like driving in the highway with trucks.
Oh my God. I've never been to Texas, but I went my first time in New York City in June, and it was really, really cool. There's just like so many people.
Yeah,
It
there's
was
a
a
lot
little bit like overwhelming.
right now. Where are you?
I'm in Arizona.
Okay, so
Yeah.
New York is just like a lot.
It was a lot. I mean, it was so cool, but like also it's just so busy and like people cross the street and they don't care. Like the
Yeah,
pedestrians like don't wait for the light and then the cars are kind of like pushing you. The subway would like took
absolutely.
you everywhere. I really like the subway.
Yeah, I think that being not in New York City, I had to adjust on learning to embrace quietness
Yeah.
in New York City. I was like, "You hungry? Let's go." At 1 o'clock, we're driving, we're walking
Yeah.
to the deli or whatnot. So
I
it
like
wasn't.
that. It was like nighttime and I'm like, we can go to the deli and get a sandwich because we're hungry. But in Arizona, it's like, okay, there's a time and you can't really get anything unless it's like Taco Bell, but I don't want that.
Absolutely. I was shocked to learn that they don't sell alcohol on Sunday morning. And they only sell alcohol until 11 o'clock. I was like, why do they do that? I'm like, oh, because they're Christian here. So maybe Sunday morning is for church.
Oh.
And it didn't click into me how convenient it is to be in New York City. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, I highly recommend just like, trying New York City, living there. It's such a
Mhm.
nice place to grow.
Okay, well, that was it. Thank you so much for answering all my questions.
Yeah, Jennifer,
And
well,
what you're doing is really cool.
appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you for inviting me. I'm grateful to have a platform like Foodcraft where I can just explore my hobbies. Like
Hmm.
there's actually a Pinterest conference this coming Saturday. I'm coming and I'm going, and it's all like crafters doing like fun stuff. And I was like,
Oh,
oh my God, like if I could just be doing anything for fun, And that's actually
arts and
one thing.
crafts sounds so fun as a
Yeah,
job.
there's that's actually one of the advice that my boss gave me. I thought he's gonna give me a long advice. So I'm like, what is your advice? I feel so overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I've been boss for 10 years. And you know what he said? Aimee, just have fun. I was like, that's it? That was my advice. I was like, no, just have fun. That's all I ask you to do because you just have to have fun. And it took me 2 years to understand what it meant. And that's what I tried to do.
Hey, thanks for joining me this week, everyone. I talked with the amazing Aimee, owner of Kids by Foodcraft. We talked about how she wants to create joy and connection with her kids. She also wants to promote diversity and culture in her work, so please go check her out and support her. If you like this episode, please share with family and friends. And you can also connect with me on Instagram at Gen Next Door Podcast. I'll talk to you guys soon.